More about that right after. Now, the India Sanitation Conclave is being held with the theme of accelerating multi-stakeholder collaborations in sanitation. To do in terms of documenting this and celebrating what is out there. I don't have to tell you all about the Swachh Bharat mission. It's something which all of us as Indians own, and every one of you who's here clearly owns. The fact that we had the clarion call from the Prime Minister clearly helped to anchor this particular activity, the Swachh Bharat mission. And even as we look to tackle the root causes of sanitation and issues why India lags behind for sanitation, it was this: the ability for all of us to work together, to collaborate. In fact, only 2 years ago, so it is this multi-stakeholder engagement that is at the core of what the India Sanitation Coalition would like to achieve. Now, addressing sanitation plays a big role in addressing a chunk of issues in social development. Clearly, health and nutrition are critical factors. The fact is that this message, which every one of you has to take out there, and I believe is something that we have to mainstream in terms of citizen and citizen action. I mean, you all know 1,600 diarrhea deaths daily. 8 jumbo jets of people go down every day to diarrhea. When we read of one jet crashing, it makes front page news. And yet, something which happens every day does not get the attention it deserves. I do think we need much more in terms of the way media covers what is happening, and I'm delighted to see that right up here as one of our sponsors, we have exactly that, the Dainik Jagran Group, and others in the audience who are very committed to making sure that media plays its role in taking these messages forward. And as we look at the whole connect between unsafe water and sanitation, I think establishing those connections, and while we at the India Sanitation Coalition have looked in some ways at the narrow space of sanitation, we cannot ignore the adjacencies as they impact the quality of water that we have around us, that we use to drink, or indeed the water that we don't have at all. Increased momentum on these fronts. So the India Sanitation Coalition has been established to bring organizations and individuals together on a common platform to find sustainable solutions for sanitation. It aims to create a strong platform for aggregation and dissemination of knowledge and networks with a nationwide outreach. For 2015, we have engaged with stakeholders across the entire spectrum of sanitation to enhance partnerships and collaborations, to scale up existing good practice while identifying new ones. There are many publications which have, and I'm glad to say that we've got the first of our compendiums out. It will be launched for a little while from now, and we would like all of you to contribute through some of the panels. The third area is working with corporates and financial institutions to actively engage in the sanitation sector. Initially, many corporates, and you will hear excellent examples from many today over the course of the panels as well. The coalition has conducted corporate roundtables in Delhi, Jaipur, Guwahati and Mumbai, and multi-stakeholder dialogues on issues like priority sector lending for sanitation. Our next workshop on financing for sanitation is going to be held in Mumbai on May 26th. And this is an important area, the area of financing, as often the beneficiary may not have the required funding to build the toilet, and microfinance can help close the gap. The fourth area we engage in is media sensitization. where we've launched a media sensitization network. And this chapter has carried out 4 successful thematic discussions thus far and produced over 6 collaterals. The ISC also hosted the 23rd Susanna meeting in February this year. The 6th area of work is to be part of the National Working Group on Fecal Sludge and Septage Management, bringing together again multiple stakeholders at both the central and state level. And the 7th and very new area is the collaboration with FICCI in constituting the ISC-FICCI Sanitation Awards, aimed at identifying and recognizing the efforts of various stakeholders across the whole sanitation value chain of BUMT. We are privileged that the awards jury was chaired by the eminent scientist and Padma Vibhushan awardee, Dr. Mashelkar, who gave of his time very freely, and indeed a jury which met 3 times in order to arrive at the conclusions they have. And we will present these awards immediately after the inaugural session. With so many organizations doing good work, the pool of submissions was very diverse. And the ISC-FICCI Sanitation Awards really would like to celebrate the multi-stakeholder approach to sanitation. The awards are an important step in recognizing and highlighting great work being done by players and to encourage others to follow. But more about this later. Certainly, we look forward to celebrating more organizations engaging in sanitation. The Honorable Minister of Railways, Shri Suresh Prabhu, will distribute the awards, followed by panel discussions through the rest of the couple of days, covering the key themes in sanitation. These include the role of corporates in sanitation, business opportunities in sanitation, role of faith-based organizations in behavior change, partnerships for rural sanitation, FSM in urban perspective, and skills development. I'm delighted that we have many of our partners and others from corporates, government, the development sector, financial institutions, and media over these 2 days, sharing experiences, and really it is your event, so do make sure your voices are heard and that the outcomes that happen at each of the sessions are things that you will look out for, I hope. I should also mention that many of you would have seen in the program until yesterday that we had Honorable Minister Tomar and indeed Minister Dharmendra Pradhan on the schedule. Both had accepted and very reluctantly yesterday informed us that both have had to actually leave town quite suddenly for other work that beckoned. But we are well represented here by Minister Tomar's ministry in Parameshwar Iyer, and in the case of Minister Dharmendra Pradhan, and many of you would wonder why Minister Petroleum was interested in being here with us. The Ministry of Petroleum has looked at many ways of getting its owned companies, IOC, BPCL, etc., and the petrol pumps that they own to become owners of the sanitation and clean toilet process. And in fact, they had an app which we were hoping they would release today. So I'm sure we will have opportunity to meet around that. But every ministry and government in fact owns sanitation in some way or other, which is great to see. The opportunities presented by the Swachh Bharat mission are clearly historic. Historic because of the ownership we have right from the Prime Minister itself. And it has translated into amazing alignment at the states. Whichever state we go to, they are extremely keen that ISC plant its flag there. What holds us back is our own capacity and indeed the funds that go with that capacity to spread ourselves much more than we have. But in working in Rajasthan and Maharashtra, we are learning a lot which will enable us to spread out to other states as well. There's a tremendous potential which exists to grow businesses and encourage entrepreneurship from business models. And one of my pet themes, and indeed for the ISC, is the for-profit business models that we should be able to show. there's money to be made by being a player in this sector. It is about for-profit models as well. And these could be in areas to convert waste into energy or fertilizer, or indeed provision of services. I'd like to extend my gratitude to all those present in the room today, our partners who engage with us actively in all our initiatives and make ISC a true multi-stakeholder platform. At the ISC, we recognize that there are strong players who have expertise in implementation, in capacity building, our repositories of knowledge, donors, corporates interested in funding. The list is endless, and what we can do is endless. I invite all of you present here today to be a part of ISC and be a part of the sanitation movement. And as we go forward, I do hope that you can guide the ISC and its constituents, our partners, in the work we do. Now, many of you know Param Iyer. If you don't, make sure you do. We are very fortunate that we have a secretary such as him in the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. With his years of experience in the sector at the World Bank, he returned to the government as a former IAS officer, handpicked for this job. And I do believe that in him, we are very fortunate to have someone who not only understands the sector, but leads it with a passion which is hard to match. In fact, he's always challenging us to do more than we do. And we struggle to keep up with all that he has set out for us. On the dais, we also have Hindustan Unilever, a very important partner for us, and with Sanjeev Mehta at the helm, a person who understands the subject and leads from the front, not just a great organization like Hindustan Unilever, but indeed for sanitation. And in, of course, a very important space, and I can't wait to get back to my chair, which I shall do in another 2 minutes, to have the blessings of Swamiji right by me, to have with us the amazing leadership that our faith-based organizations are providing, and the tremendous passion with which people like him lead, not just his organization, but on subjects like sanitation. He arrived from the US at 3 this morning. I couldn't have told that he hasn't slept, but he is here with us today. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Hindustan Unilever, Jagran, Tata Steel, Larsen & Toubro, Nestle, NU, and Organic Recycling Systems for kindly supporting us in organizing this event. And the Gates Foundation and FICCI for their support to the coalition from its inception. And of course, our steering committee, delighted to see that most of you are here with us today, without whose guidance the ISC would not be where it is today. Last but not least, the team, the secretariat of the ISC, who have worked tirelessly to bring the coalition to where it is. Each one of you works in a manner which is quite amazing, and I'm delighted to have all of you as our team. Many of you know some of the team members, but I'm going to ask those of the team who are in the room just now to please stand up. They didn't know they would have to. So please stand up, all of you who have been part of this effort. Come on, I can see some of you here. Yeah, so do stand up. Yeah, please let's give them a big hand. Zara, up, and Jerry G. Yeah, thank you for all you do for us. Thank you. Thanks. So on that note, I shall hand over back to Rita.
Thank you, Ms. Kidwai, for really that very elaborate welcome and covering the entire gamut of issues, but also the breadth of what the coalition does. And the key points that you really made, and I want to sum up here, is that you put emphasis on the fact that we need to leverage our strengths for converging and mainstreaming. I think that's the most important point, which is demonstrated by the confluence of people that we have here. And the second point on connecting the dots, which is what the coalition is trying to do. And most importantly, that we need to look at embedding sanitation in every sphere of economic and social activities. So that, I think that's the key point here. And I must say, as FICCI, we're very proud to be part of this momentum. So thank you for setting the context to the day, to this important event, as well as to the ISC-FICCI Sanitation Awards. And as you all can see, we have a great confluence here with the dignitaries on the panel, a confluence of government, business, and faith. So it's an honor to have all of you on the dais here with us. And now moving on to our next speaker, who needs no introduction, and Ms. Kidwai has already introduced him, Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, CEO and Managing Director of Hindustan Unilever Limited. He's also heading Unilever's business in South Asia. So over to you, Mr. Mehta.
Pujya Swamiji, Mrs. Naina Kidwai, Mr. Iyer, Mrs. Chowdhury, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and namaskar. It gives me immense pleasure to be here with you today and share my thoughts. But first of all, I would like to congratulate the India Sanitation Coalition for the wonderful efforts in the area of sanitation. Under the able leadership of Naina Kidwai and the stewardship of FICCI, I believe that the coalition can make a true meaningful difference. The effort to bring multiple stakeholders together, I believe, is a great start in a collective endeavor to help address some of the biggest challenges that faces our nation today. Take, for example, water. Estimates tell us that if we are not able to sort the consumption or the demand or the supply of water, by 2030, we will have half the water that we need. Let's look at sanitation. We all know that 59% of the people in the world who practice open defecation, unfortunately, are in India. More worrisome are the challenges that we face in the space of hygiene. Every day, 328 children below the age of 5 die of diarrhea. That's 13 children every hour. As per UNICEF, a review of several studies shows that a simple act of hand washing in institutions such as primary schools and daycare centers can reduce the incidence of diarrhea by as much as 30%. In fact, hand washing by soaps has been cited as one of the most cost-effective solutions to address this challenge. Ironically, while 99% of the households in India have the ubiquitous soaps, it is predominantly used to wash clothes, bathe, or wash the utensils. There are many parts of rural India where washing hands with soap after being to the toilet is in low single digits. In fact, these issues of water, sanitation and hygiene, or WASH as we popularly call them, share linkages with broader public health issues. Let's take the issue of malnutrition and stunting. India has the highest number of children suffering from stunting, 48 million, or 2 in every 5. Due to this, not only kids who are our tomorrow's youth, India's future, are at the risk of dying, but also malnutrition early in the life reduces intelligence in ways that can never be regained. The brains of stunted children don't develop properly, which in turn could be linked to school dropout rates, for instance. Interestingly, 50% of malnutrition cases globally are linked to chronic diarrhea caused by lack of clean water, decent sanitation, and good hygiene, including the simple act of hand washing with soaps. Of the 1.7 million people who die from unsafe water, sanitation, and hygiene, 600,000 are in India. When you factor in the cost of sickness, the loss of opportunities, it costs India $100 billion a year $100 billion, a pretty big sum, equivalent to 5% of our nation's GDP. In 2014, Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji announced a very bold and ambitious vision of eradicating open defecation by 2019 under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. However, we all know that the government alone cannot achieve this vision. Given the scale and complexity of these challenges, there is need for all the stakeholders to come together and contribute. Hence, joining hands is critical through partnerships where expertise of each of the partners is harnessed to make a meaningful difference. At Hindustan Unilever, this belief has underlined the approach to help address the challenges. We have been on a journey to create a positive social impact through various of our interventions under the Unilever Sustainable Living Plan. Through our Lifebuoy hand washing behavior change programs, Pure Safe Drinking Water program, and through our Domex Toilet Academies, we have reached 1 in 10 Indians or 145 million Indians in the last 6 years. Through Hindustan Unilever Foundation, where we work in the area of water in over 5,000 villages in the country, partnering with several NGOs, we have created a capacity to conserve 300 billion liters of water, which can serve the need of 20 million people every year in rural India. Today I'm going to share with you two of our recent interventions or initiatives which aim to address the challenges in urban and rural India. First, I'll talk about Swachhata Doot. We have a strong network of several factories dotted on the landscape of rural locations across the country. We have developed an innovative and simple technology-based solution to spread hygiene awareness, which is implemented through our factory workers. Leveraging the now ubiquitous mobile phone, our factory teams have reached out to over 2 lakh people in rural India using 2-minute audio stories to highlight 3 clean habits: washing hands at 5 critical occasions during the day, drinking safe water, and using the toilet and keeping it clean. It is not a surprise that the primary identity of many of our factory workers in the communities is now that of Swachhata Doots. Just as we have harnessed the might of our workers in the communities, we believe this can be adopted by several institutions, both in the private and public sector, and we in Hindustan Unilever would be more than happy to share our learnings and the education material we have developed with anyone who chooses to roll this out. Second, I would like to talk about Suvidha Center. Last year, on the occasion of World Toilet Day, which is 19th November 2016, we launched an innovative sanitation and hygiene center in an urban slum in Ghatkopar, Mumbai, in partnership with the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai. Rather than speak about it, let me share with you a small video. Can we have the AV, please? We are very pleased with this initiative, and we want to prove the concept of sustainability, and once that is done in the next few months, our plan would be, together with our other partners, help roll it out across many slums. Today, I would urge you, whenever you are in Mumbai, visit the Ghatkopar slum, and within a slum, you will find an oasis. And I believe this has tremendously changed the quality of life of people who live in the slums. We've got some very interesting insights from this experiment. In the last 5 months since its launch, the maximum usage has interestingly been the laundry service. I was personally very surprised. This service, but when you peel the onion, you understand that this service saves women the time for collecting water from faraway places in multiple buckets and saves the effort of washing clothes with hands. This in turn helps women to spend more quality time with their children and families, and in many cases this allows the women to step out and work. At the same time, we have noticed that women in the slum have been hesitant to use the shower facility. This insight reinforces a long-held belief that just building infrastructure is not enough. There is a need for intensive behavior change interventions to address such deep-set cultural barriers. For example, in this case, there is a need to create an ecosystem wherein women feel safe to have a bath in a public facility, no matter how well it is maintained. Indeed, to make a meaningful difference, it is essential to scale up innovative and sustainable partnerships. I was very happy to read Mr. Bill Gates' article of 25th April, just a few days back, titled, "India is winning its war on human waste." He spoke about that in the last few years, the access to proper sanitation has improved from 42% to 63%, and I would like to applaud everyone, including, of course, the ministry and Mr. Secretary here, for the wonderful difference that's been made in such a few years. Partnership with like-minded stakeholders through coalitions, platforms like ISC will eventually help us all to jointly deliver on Honorable Prime Minister's vision. Our efforts together will greatly contribute to the global sustainable development goal towards ensuring availability and sustainable management of water and sanitation for all. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share what we in Hindustan Unilever have been doing, and I take this opportunity to once again wish India Sanitation Coalition the very best in helping bring the efforts of all together in this wonderful initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. That were two very, very important and wonderful initiatives, and we see here how the corporate sector is taking a lead role in sanitation and how the Hindustan Unilever is really championing the cause. And the two very important initiatives that you mentioned, the Swachhata Doots, is very, very unique in creating the sanitation champions around the workplace and in the communities. And Suvidha, which is really not just a toilet, but a center that has been created. And so kudos to Unilever for bringing these two very unique initiatives. Now, from the corporate sector, we move on to what the global faith community is doing, and it is an honor for us to have Pujya Swamiji with us here. He is the president and spiritual head of Paramarth Niketan Ashram Rishikesh, which is one of the largest interfaith spiritual institutions in India. And under his divine inspiration and leadership, Paramarth Niketan has become a sanctuary known across the globe as one filled with grace, beauty, serenity, and true divine bliss. Pujya Swamiji is also the founder of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance India, the Ganga Action Parivar, the Divine Shakti Foundation, India Heritage Research Foundation, and the International Yoga Festival. Also the world's first Hindu Jain temple located in Pittsburgh, and the Muntu Shiva temple in Sydney, Australia. And I now request Pujya Swamiji to deliver his address.
Sahana Bhavatu तपस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योरमा अमृतं गमय ॐ शान्तिः 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 Respected Manaji, very dedicated and committed. Shri Parmeshwar Aiyarji, my dear Sanjeev Mehta ji, dear Rita ji, and scientists, scholars, distinguished guests, and all these beautiful people who are working with different companies for this great cause. I welcome you all. I'm very happy, Nanaji, for this coalition. I think that's what is needed today. Individually, we are all doing great in our own fields. But time has come for one thing, only one thing, is togetherness, allness and oneness. This oneness is missing. This allness is missing from our efforts. As respected Manaji said, in Bihar, 4 NGOs were working and no one knowing what other is doing. And same thing is happening in every field, but in the field of sanitation, it's very important. This is a great challenge. A man who is sitting here, I just came in the morning, he must have come maybe 2 days ago or yesterday, I don't know. We were together in the World Bank. We were having a meeting with the World Bank president, all the top people of the world, and we were together there in the same building, but we were so busy, we could not meet each other. We talked to each other on the phone, and now we are meeting here. Very committed man, gives me the hope. When I came to know about this conference, I was told this fecal sludge management. I was thinking in my own way that this fecal sludge management FSM program became a face saving management in the governments and in many other places. It became a face saving management. You take the number, they give you the numbers, then what happens after that? You see the mess. But after Honorable Prime Minister, the only Prime Minister in this nation who can give this clarion call from the Red Fort, let us work together. This is a challenge which became a priority for him. Even Bill Gates, Sanjeev just mentioned, he also has mentioned now, we are changing. India is changing, India's profile is changing all over the world. But to bring the new change, we have to accept this challenge. This challenge is no one else. We are the challenge. And we all have to bring the change. We have to challenge, not outside of us. We have to challenge inside of us. Are we ready? In the conferences, we can give the numbers sometime. But I'm very proud of you all that you all are committed here. We're the committed ones who have taken this challenge. You will take this challenge from your companies. We keep listening to the stories. India first. India first. I think if India has to be first, toilet must. until and unless for every school, Nanaji was telling that when it comes to CSR, people are ready to give money for schools, easy, but not for the toilets. I have seen those schools where 5,000 or 4,000 girls and students are studying, but 3 toilets or maybe 5 toilets and half are broken. I think time has come. मुझे तो ऐसा लगता है कि पहले शौचालय, फिर विद्यालय और then देवालय, ऐसा होना चाहिए. पहले शौचालय, half of the population, our mothers, our sisters, you wear that shoes, then you will understand. जिसने हमें रोशनी दी, उस मदर को आज अंधेरे का इंतजार करना पड़ता है टॉयलेट जाने के लिए, अपने आप को रिलीव करने के लिए. सूरज छिपे या सूरज उगने से पहले उसको सोचना पड़ता है कि अंधेरे में जाऊं. रोशनी उसने बांटी जिसकी वजह से आज हम सब लोग यहां पर बैठे हैं. आई एम ग्लैड दैट यू हैव पुट Nanaji in the center for this. Time has come for the Shaktis. Shakti understands the pain of the Shaktis. विनेश्वर जी को देखिए, one man, what amazing work he has done. आज मुझे लगता है इस चैलेंज को हमें लेना होगा. मुझे तो लगता है कि जब मैंने देखा इतना बड़ा चैलेंज, इतनी बड़ी चीजें, मुझे लगा कि टॉयलेट्स आर बिल्ट. It's not the toilets are not built. They are becoming stored. They are becoming for many other purposes. मैंने खुद देखा है, लॉक लगा हुआ है, एक घर का और कमरा बन गया, टॉयलेट को ढका और अंदर हम सामान बना रख दिया या खुद रहने लगे क्योंकि लोगों के पास बहुत कमी है. ऐसा हो रहा है. टॉयलेट्स आर बिल्ट, टॉयलेट्स आर बीइंग बिल्ट, लेकिन वो टॉयलेट की तरह यूज हो. हम सब फेथ लीडर्स ने सोचा इसके लिए वी नीड द माइंड चेंज, द बिहेवियर चेंज, द माइंड सेट. वी ऑल नीड दैट. दैट्स व्हाई वी ब्रॉट द जीवा ग्लोबल इंटरफेथ वॉश अलायंस. हाउ sanitation can become meditation for all these spiritual leaders. And it's happening. I remember when we took the initiative in the Kumbh Mela in Nasik and we shared with all the spiritual leaders. Some of them यार क्या बात कर रहे हैं, धार्मिक स्टेज के ऊपर लैट्रिन की बात, इनका खत्म करो, पीछे से इशारा कर रहे थे. पूज्य मुरारी बापू was there, 10,000 of people were there. It's a live program. इनको क्या बोल रहे हैं, ये साधना की बात करें, ये लैट्रिन की बात करें, टट्टी की बात कर रहे हैं, गंदगी की बात कर रहे हैं. गंदगी की जगह पे गंदगी की बात, पूजा की जगह पे प्रदूषण की बात. मुझे तो लगता है कि आज समझने की जरूरत है कि पूजा और प्रदूषण दोनों साथ साथ नहीं चल सकते, गंदगी और गंदगी दोनों साथ साथ नहीं चल सकते. सच तो मानो, मुझे तो लगता है कि मेडिटेशन से पहले सैनिटेशन की जरूरत है, टेंपल से पहले टॉयलेट की जरूरत है. मुझे तो लगता है खुद को जब टॉयलेट हो जाता है मुझे लगता है कि स्वर्ग मिल गया. सच्ची कह रहा हूं. लोगों को कैसा लगता होगा. इसलिए मैं कहना चाहता हूं, और जिन लोगों ने कुंभ मेला में उस समय कहा कि क्या बोल रहे हैं, और गंगा सागर के मेले में आई रिमेंबर 30 lakhs of people, one man, one DM, Salim, Dr. Salim Muhammad, he was the DM there. What a great change he has brought. और वही संत जिन्होंने मुझे कहा था क्या बात कर रहे हो, और सबसे पहले उठे जब उन्होंने देखा कि ये हो सकता है, ये काम केवल एक डीएम का नहीं है, ये काम तो सीएम का और पीएम का नहीं है, बल्कि ये काम तो इस देश के हर व्यक्ति का है. और वो उठे, उन्होंने अपनी स्पीच में कहा सलीम को सलाम. कितना बड़ा चेंज. सैनिटेशन बिकेम मेडिटेशन. आई थिंक, मुझे तो लगता है फॉर अस फेथ लीडर्स, FSM प्रोग्राम इज फॉर फेथ लीडर्स, सैनिटेशन इज आवर मेडिटेशन नाउ. जब तक इस देश में, मुझे तो ये लगता है, मुझे कहना चाहिए क्योंकि मीडिया के बंधु यहां पर हैं, मंदिरों की जरूरत है, मंदिर बने. जब तक हमारी मां बहनों के लिए इस देश में सब जगह क्लीन टॉयलेट ना बन जाए. Until unless we have a clean toilet for our mothers and sisters, I don't think so there should be new temple should be built in this nation. Let this temple बने, टेम्पल का विरोध नहीं है, लेकिन मुझे तो लगता है आज सबसे ज्यादा अगर किसी चीज की जरूरत है वो इसकी जरूरत है. अपनी चीजों को बदलना होगा. We have to be very innovative. हमें आगे बढ़ना होगा. I remember I was one of the meetings of World Economic Forums. और जब मैं वहां पर था तो बिल गेट्स, बोनो एंड बिल क्लिंटन, वी ऑल वर देयर, साधु जी वाज देयर. वहां पर उस समय, कैन यू बिलीव इट, बिल गेट इज टॉकिंग अबाउट सैनिटेशन, पोलियो एंड ऑल अदर प्रॉब्लम्स. क्यों? क्योंकि उनको लगता है कि ये मेरी प्रॉब्लम है. जब तक दिल में कुछ कुछ नहीं होगा ना, बाहर बहुत कुछ नहीं बदल सकता. आज हम सबको कुछ कुछ होने की जरूरत है. जब मुझको कुछ कुछ होगा तो मुझे लगता है कि बहुत कुछ इस देश में घटेगा. और वो कुछ कुछ हुआ इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री को, कुछ कुछ हुआ इस देश के उस प्रधानमंत्री को जिन्होंने, हम किसी भी पार्टी के हों, मैं पार्टी से बात नहीं करता, चुनाव से पहले दल होने चाहिए और चुनाव के बाद देश होना चाहिए. यदि हम जिस भी पार्टी के हों, प्राइम मिनिस्टर किसी पार्टी का नहीं होता है, प्राइम मिनिस्टर केवल सरकार का होता है, देश का होता है. इसलिए इस प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने कम से कम हिम्मत तो जुटाई ये कहने की कि टॉयलेट फर्स्ट. मुझे लगता है, आइए मैं आपको भी धन्यवाद देता हूं. There must be so many of you who are going to given the award today. पर मुझे लगता है वर्किंग फॉर सैनिटेशन सेल्फ इज अवार्ड. ये अपने आप में कम अवार्ड नहीं है. ये जो मॉडल मिलेंगे आप, एक बात है, लेकिन जो मॉडल आपने खड़ा कर दिया इस देश में, यूनिलीवर ने, आरबी ने, बिल गेट्स ने, आपकी बहुत सारी फिक्की ने और बहुत सारी फाउंडेशन से, यूनिसेफ ने, मुझे लगता है कि बहुत बड़ा काम इस देश में होने जा रहा है. और 2 साल तक मुझे तो लगता है थोड़ा प्रॉफिट कम भी बनाना पड़े. नैना जी कह रही थी फर्टिलाइजर में इवन वेस्ट टू वेल्थ, कचरे से कैश हम पैदा कर सकते हैं. सही बात है. मुझे तो लगता है 2 साल के लिए यार अपने देश के लिए यदि इससे मुक्ति दिलाने के लिए थोड़ा प्रॉफिट कम भी करना पड़े. CSR तो 2% है, लेकिन HSR तो 100% है, ह्यूमन सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. और मीडिया, मुझे अब तक टाइम आ गया है मीडिया के लिए भी. मीडिया सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, मेक इट फर्स्ट. इस न्यूज को हम फर्स्ट नहीं बना सकते हैं. लेट दिस बी नॉट अ ब्रेकिंग न्यूज बट अ मेकिंग न्यूज. हमारी ब्रेकिंग न्यूज, she was telling when 8 jumbo jet, can you believe it, the numbers? Sanjeev has shared the numbers. I was going to share the numbers because I'm just coming from the World Bank. I heard those many numbers there. So many numbers were being talked in the World Bank. But he shared those numbers. There are many other numbers. We don't want to scare you. I want to prepare you for this challenge, not to scare you. आइए, ये काम हो सकता है, मिलकर हो सकता है. अभी एक बहुत बड़े मौलाना ने अभी मुझे बुलाया था. 3 लाख मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी के लोग वहां पर थे. 500 मुस्लिम लीडर्स एक स्टेज पर थे. अगर आप उस मूवी को, आई विश आई कुड हैव ब्रॉट 2 minutes or 1 minute. चेंज. एक कथा के बाद, नासिक की कथा के बाद, मुरारी बापू जी ने कहा अगली कथा मैं करूंगा कथाकार सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, KSR. CSR तो है लेकिन KSR, कथाकार सोशल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, दे आर ऑलवेज लाइव, आवर्स एंड आवर्स. न्यूज तो 1 मिनट की बनती है, 30 सेकंड की, बट दे आर लाइव ऑन फॉर 4 आवर्स. एंड इफ दे ब्रिंग द चेंज, वैसे भी सच्ची माने पैसे से चेंज नहीं आता है. पॉलिटिकल से पॉलिटिकल चेंज नहीं लाए जा सकते हैं. पॉलिटिकल पावर भी है, पॉलिटिकल विल पावर भी है, और सब कुछ होने के बाद भी आज पूरा वर्ल्ड बैंक, यूनाइटेड नेशन, दे आर ऑल टॉकिंग अबाउट faith-based organization. There are 2 main meetings, faith-based organizations and CSOs, civil society organizations in the World Bank and the UN. I'm just going next month. हर जगह वहां ये बात हो रही है, let us work with the faith leaders. क्यों? क्योंकि एक faith leader उठा एक कथा की, 300 villages, immediately everything will go for the toilets. मुझे लगता है change is happening. India needs a shift. And India needs a shift, and shift I can see right here. Shift starts with these kind of organizations. कि जब इस तरह के coalition बनते हैं, वो भी sanitation के लिए, shift is there, and I'm very proud of you, my dear. परम जी, जब भी मुझे मिलते हैं, when we are doing for ODF, this meeting in Rishikesh on the banks of Ganga, जब भी मुझे मिलते हैं, and we are next month, I talked to our Venkaiah ji, I talked to Tomar ji from America, and they said very soon, next month maybe we are bringing all the mayors to share, and mayors, Madhu ji is sitting there, one team, one theme, and becoming one team. You can bring this dream to be true, dream to be reality. कि उसके लिए हम सब जब भी मिलते हैं, उन सारे मेयर्स को बुला रहे हैं, लेकिन काम मेयर्स का नहीं है. मुझे तो लगता है कि हम लोग उनको टोकें, लेकिन खुद को भी तो रोकें. समाज को जगना होगा इसके लिए, खुद को रोकें, तब समाज जगेगा, हम बदलेंगे. और मुझे लगता है इसके लिए मैं आप सबका धन्यवाद करता हूं. जिनको मेडल मिले उनको भी, जिनको नहीं मिलेंगे अगली बार मिलेंगे उनको भी धन्यवाद देता हूं. कम से कम एक शुरुआत तो हुई, और ये शुरुआत बहुत अच्छी है, बहुत प्यारी है. और इसलिए भी प्यारी है कि देश बदल रहा है, और देश बदलने का इंतजार पूरा विश्व कर रहा है. और ये मैं देख सकता हूं, आई कैन सी ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. मुझे याद है कि व्हेन लास्ट, आई वांट टू से लास्ट थिंग, मुझे याद है कि जब मैं, मोदी जी फर्स्ट टाइम वेंट टू अमेरिका, एंड बिफोर ही वेंट टू अमेरिका, यू नो व्हाट हैपन. लेकिन ही वेंट टू अमेरिका फर्स्ट टाइम. द मोमेंट ही वाज देयर, I could see the power, and somebody asked me, the media, ANI asked me, when I came out from that hall, this Madison Square, he said, what happened today? I said, India happened today. And Madison became a Madison Square. And why this happened? Because kam se kam a man can show the commitment. If you all can show your commitment, it's not that Modi ji only can become a Modi ji. You all for this nation are Modi ji's. That's what he wants. आज इसी की जरूरत है. और मुझे बड़ी खुशी है, फिक्की, मुझे तो लगता है कि फिक्की अगर इस काम को उठाया है, और अगर ये काम पूरा नहीं होता है, फिक्की का भी सब फीका फीका ही रहता. बहुत कुछ किया फिक्की ने, बहुत इंटरप्रेन्योर्स को लाया, लेकिन जब तक ये फीका रहेगा, जब तक अपनी शक्ति इसके लिए, जब तक अपनी लेडीज के लिए, मदर्स के लिए हम ये सैनिटेशन की सुविधा नहीं दे सकते. हमने तो अभी आरबीज, यूनिसेफ, बिल गेट्स फाउंडेशन एंड अदर्स, वी आर वर्किंग टुगेदर. वर्ल्ड टॉयलेट कॉलेज, कैन यू बिलीव इट? वर्ल्ड टॉयलेट कॉलेज. द फर्स्ट बैच हैज कम आउट, second batch has come out, third batch has come out. And when I see those women working as mason, as mentor, as manufacturer of their own toilets, कितनी खुशी होती. मैंने अपना टॉयलेट खुद बनाया. आज तक घर तो खुद बनाते थे, लेकिन टॉयलेट मैंने अपना बनाया. ये छोटी बात नहीं है. When I see the shine in their eyes, I cry. It brings tears to my eyes. आइए 2 साल के लिए आगे बढ़े, एंड पूरे देश को, क्या छोटा छोटा गांव ओपन डेफिकेशन फ्री, हम लोग बातें करते हैं. मुझे तो लगता है पूरा देश ओपन डेफिकेशन फ्री हो. इसके लिए प्रॉफिट कम होगा तो कर लेंगे, कुछ बात नहीं है. चैलेंज जो आएगा कर लेंगे. मुसीबत बहुत बड़ी है, चैलेंज बहुत बड़ा है, लेकिन माना कि इस जमी को गुलजार ना कर सके हम, कुछ कांटे तो कम हुए, गुजरे जिधर से हम. हो सकता है ये. एंड विद यू ऑल इट कैन हैपन. थैंक यू फिक्की, थैंक यू ऑल. God bless you.
Thank you, Swamiji, for that very, very passionate speech and many messages. And I can assure you कि FICCI फीका नहीं होने देगा. And but many messages from your passionate speech about allness and oneness. First toilet, then school, and then place of worship. Sanitation before meditation, waste to wealth, and 3 new terms, of course, that we learned today: HSR, MSR, and KSR. Thank you for really talking about the momentum and the huge change that faith leaders around the world, including you, are trying to bring about in the space of sanitation. And also glad to know that you see the coalition as a platform which will be able to create that shift. We now move over from the corporate to the faith to the government, and we are very delighted to have here with us Mr. Parameshwar Iyer, Secretary, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation. He's a 1981 batch IS officer, joined the World Bank in 2009, and now leading the flagship Swachh Bharat mission and the National Rural Drinking Water Program. So over to you, Mr. Iyer.
Pujya Swamiji, Chairperson Naina Lal Kidwai, Sanjeev Mehta, Rita. Great to have Dr. Bindeshwari Pathak in the audience. Members of the Sanitation Coalition, FICCI, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very difficult act to follow after the very powerful speech by Swamiji, but he's always a tremendous inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much for coming, and even though we missed out meeting in the World Bank, we are meeting here again. I just wanted to say at the outset that Swamiji's leadership with Jiva and the other faith leaders has been phenomenal. We meet in multiple places. Swamiji is going to organize many sessions for us, particularly with elected leaders, whether it's mayors or sarpanchas of gram panchayats. There was a very powerful event in Guwahati where Swamiji and his entire team addressed a gathering of over 8,000 sarpanchas from Assam. So I think the interfaith movement exemplified by Swamiji is making a tremendous contribution to Swachh Bharat. So I just wanted to congratulate and thank Swamiji again for the tremendous inspiration to all of us. Again, it's a great privilege to be here today with joining the India Sanitation Coalition's annual meeting. Again, this coalition, I think, has done tremendous work in bringing in multiple actors into the Swachh Bharat family and movement. And again, also wanted to congratulate Sanjeev and Unilever for the tremendous work they've been doing, not just on Swachh Bharat, but over the years for hygiene in particular, hygiene promotion. Now, coming back again to the Swachh Bharat mission, I think a lot has been said, and there's not much to add to the words of Swamiji, Naina, and Sanjeev in particular. But let me just say one of the major differences in this program, which has been referred to by Swamiji, is the role of the Prime Minister. And I think that's the biggest game changer in this program, that the Prime Minister of India, as Bill Gates very eloquently put it yesterday, has put sanitation up front on the agenda for this country. The Swachh Bharat mission, this is the first time that an Indian Prime Minister has spoken about sanitation and is leading sanitation. We saw the effect this had when the presidents of Korea, Malaysia, Singapore took it up as a personal cause and made those countries not just open defecation free but also clean. So we're seeing that big change in India now. And as the Prime Minister keeps saying, this is not a Sarkari program, it's becoming a Jan Andolan. And I think that's the message which is resonating across this meeting and across the movement. So it's everyone's business now. It's not just the ministry or the government or the private sector or anyone else. It's got to be a mass movement. And I think we're getting there. There's a lot of work to be done yet. But again, for us, the key difference between this program and earlier programs is the focus, as Swamiji mentioned, on behavior change. And so it's not about constructing toilets. That was the old paradigm when we would count the number of toilets built. But it's about behavior change. It's about triggering that behavior change. And it's about the usage of toilets. So one major policy shift which the government made with the Swachh Bharat mission was shifting the conversation from construction of toilets to open defecation-free villages. Because when you talk of an ODF village, it necessitates behavior change. Unless the community understands the importance of the entire village becoming open defecation-free and the health impact that brings, the shift will not be made. So I think we are slowly getting there. The focus is on behavior change. And in fact, as Sanjeev mentioned, there were about about 1 billion people in the world 2 years ago who were practicing open defecation, almost 60% were in India. In rural India, there were 550 million people practicing open defecation when the Swachh Bharat mission started. Today it's about 350 million. So that 22% increase which has been referred to basically means that about 200 million people have stopped practicing open defecation. And the important thing now is how is that to be sustained? So in addition to the momentum which has been built up, what we are trying to focus on with the help of all of you is how to sustain that open defecation free behavior, which in earlier programs was not important. So that's very important. Let me just give you a couple of numbers before I come to more important topics. So if you look at numbers, today about close to 200,000 villages, it's actually about 193,000 villages have become open defecation free. About 135 districts have become open defecation free. And 3 states have become open defecation free, with about 4 or 5 states, I would say in the next 6 months, will become open defecation free. The 3 states are Sikkim, Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, and the 4 or 5 states which will become open defecation free over the next 5 to 6 months are Haryana, Gujarat, Uttarakhand, Punjab, and Mizoram, and there are many getting there as well. So this movement is taking place. As the Prime Minister says, it's critical to involve local representatives, in particular sarpanchas. And then again, the role of women is fundamental, as Swamiji reminded us. It's not just the India Sanitation Coalition which is being led by a woman, which is great. We're finding that across the country at different levels, if women are really leading this movement, the Prime Minister recently addressed 6,000 women sarpanches on International Women's Day, March 8th in Gandhinagar. And it was a very powerful interaction between the Prime Minister directly talking to sarpanches, also telecast live, so it was many other sarpanches saw it. And he made it very clear that in this program, it's the leadership role of women which is critical. Traditionally, women have been portrayed as victims and, how can men empower them? But we are finding across the board, whether it's women sarpanches, women collectors, women principal secretaries, we have principal secretary of Maharashtra today, or whether it's FICCI, whether it's the private sector, I think this movement is spreading and women are playing a very major role. Now, collaboration has been repeatedly mentioned is critical for this program. Obviously, we are the coordinating ministry for Swachh Bharat, along with the Urban Development Ministry. But the main action is in the state governments, and in the state governments, it's different departments working together from a government perspective. But it's the private sector, it's NGOs, it's civil society, it's sarpanches, it's MLAs, it's MPs. How can we pull all these different actors together? And I think the India Sanitation Coalition is playing a major role in this, because you represent not just the private sector, you represent the media, you represent civil society, you've got government representatives. So this coalition, we feel, is playing a very critical role. I'd like to congratulate Naina and the team for actually moving this, shifting this momentum forward in this program. As far as we are concerned, we would like to, do our part in increasing the collaboration. We have got a couple of MOUs, if you like. We've got a couple of frameworks which will allow private sector, the non-government sector, to come and join us in collaborations. We have a corporate collaboration framework as well as a civil society collaboration framework. So any organization which would like to specifically collaborate with us or with state governments, you're welcome to come forward and we'll try to facilitate that. Interestingly, if the Prime Minister does a monthly address called Man Ki Baat, which I'm sure most of you have listened. And in one of those Man Ki Baat addresses, the Prime Minister appealed to corporates to come forward specifically and sponsor young professionals who can help districts and state governments in taking this program forward. So we're very happy to know that after that appeal, the Tata Trusts came forward, and the Tata Trusts have sponsored 600 young professionals, one in each district in India, and which will become not only boots on the ground, but also the eyes and ears of collectors and chief executive officers to help move the Swachh Bharat momentum forward in the district. So this has been a major contribution. I think the Tata Trust is spending about $10 million on this. And this is, for us, been the single major contribution by the private sector towards Swachh Bharat. But there are many other collaborations going on, as we saw from Hindustan Unilever, the Sanitation Coalition, many other private organizations, Reckitt and Coleman. All of them are coming forward in their own way to contribute to Swachh Bharat, which is extremely welcome. One request we have is, can we scale up this engagement, and how can we scale up the corporate support? So there are many, as Swamiji noted, the next 2 years are going to be critical. As you know, that the Swachh Bharat deadline is 2nd October 2019, which is the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. So as Swamiji appealed to corporates, even if your profit margin is a little less, we really need you to come forward and make a big push towards Swachh Bharat. There are many different ways you can contribute. There is always the Swachh Bharat Kosh, which is a receptacle set up in the finance ministry, where you can contribute. So far, the Swachh Bharat Kosh has mainly received contributions from the public sector, and the PSUs have really come forward. So about over 500 crores have been collected in the Swachh Bharat Kosh. There have been a few private sector contributions. Actually, the single largest contribution to the Kosh is from Ma Amritanand Mai. She donated 100 crores right at the beginning, which was fabulous. We are still looking to increase the quantum of funding to the Kosh, and so that's one major way of contributing. But apart from that, because many private sector organizations prefer to either implement themselves or target their funding to very specific areas, which is fine. So there are different ways of scaling up your support. You could adopt a district, you could adopt a particular region, you could support the IEC campaign of the ministry. One particular area which is becoming increasingly important for us is toilet technology. And we find that the twin pit, leach pit model is probably the most appropriate model for most parts of rural India, maybe 80%. And unfortunately, this model, many people see as what we call as a black and white TV. Actually, it's a color TV, because the twin pit model is actually a treatment plant where when one pit is closed and you wait for about a year, it becomes very, very safe compost. And again, that's something which Swamiji referred to. How do we create wealth from waste? So this is something which we have started at a national level, but we need to launch a massive campaign on toilet technology. So if any of the corporates here are interested in sponsoring a huge toilet technology campaign, it would be very welcome. We had a discussion with Naina and Rashid a couple of weeks ago, and they felt that it would be possible to find corporates interested in this. So this would be a campaign all the way from a national level right down to the district level, where appropriate toilet technology is promoted, so that people understand that just because the sarpanch has a badly built septic tank, that is not necessarily the solution. So again, I just mentioned that as one example of how corporates can come forward and support us. Now, the other thing is, can you adopt, as I mentioned earlier, districts or blocks and provide specific support on behavior change? Because one of the areas we feel where corporates, at least corporates like Hindustan Lever and other similar organizations, have comparative advantage in behavior change. We had a major collaboration with Unilever about 15 years ago when I was in the World Bank on a public-private partnership on hand washing with soap. And Unilever played a major role in that, because they know how to change behavior, they know how to sell soap. And we want to use that expertise in getting people to adopt toilets. So Unilever has played a major role already with initiatives like the Swachhata Doot, which we think actually could be applied to major organizations like the railways. And I think there's some discussion which will be held with the railway minister on how that model can be applied across the board in the railways and other public sector undertakings. So building on your comparative advantages, whether it's on behavior change or whether it's on marketing or whether it's on financial resources, we would welcome collaboration to be scaled up from the private sector. Public sector undertakings have been encouraged to spend 33% of their CSR on Swachh Bharat. So they are coming forward to support us in that regard. So we would really welcome more contributions on a larger scale from the private sector. The Sanitation Coalition, I think, has done a phenomenal job in pulling all this together. And for us, it's much easier to engage with the private sector through the coalition, because it's very difficult to engage one-on-one with so many different private sector organizations. So again, we're very grateful for the role they're playing, not just in the collaboration, but in the knowledge, in the convening power, and in basically spreading the word. So it's organizations like ISC, Jiva, of course, is always there. and other CSOs, NGOs. It's a movement which the Prime Minister keeps reminding us. In fact, just yesterday, I can share with you the Prime Minister in his monthly review meeting called Pragati with all secretaries of the Government of India and chief secretaries, where they review major projects, typically infrastructure projects. There was an opportunity to share something called the Swachhata Action Plan. So every ministry of the Government of India has now devoted its own resources to mainstreaming sanitation and Swachhata in their own program. And through this process, they have themselves mobilized over 5,000 crores just for this financial year of 17-18. So every ministry, in particular the Railway Ministry, has put in resources to mainstream sanitation so that it's not just a one-off movement, but actually it continues throughout the year and beyond. So ministries are playing their role, the private sector is playing their role, state governments are leading this in their states. It's up to all of us, as Swamiji very powerfully appealed to everyone. Can we focus on sanitation for the next couple of years and make India Swachh by 2nd October 2019? Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Iyer, for really laying out in front of us what the government's journey has been, a tremendous journey that the government has embarked on, but also the vision on how you want to move forward and your call to all stakeholders as well as the private sector on various proposals that the government has on how they could engage. And you spoke of the paradigm shift, and that is the most important thing for everyone to take note of, the fact that the shift from focusing only on the construction of toilets to really behavior change and use as really the benchmark for open defecation-free villages and cities. And you also spoke of the important role of the state governments and that the action really lies there, and we are very glad to have Ms. Manisha Maheskar, from Principal Secretary Urban Development from the Government of Maharashtra, where the ISC is deeply engaging both with Maharashtra and as well as with the Government of Rajasthan. And you spoke of the corporate collaboration framework, and interestingly, while we hear a lot of stories from the large corporates, and we heard some today, I think there are also many smaller corporates who are making their way into sanitation in different ways and finding the interconnects with waste and with wastewater management, because sanitation seems to be a natural corollary to both these aspects. So I think a possibility for scaling up through creating these interconnects, and you did talk about how you want private sector engagement in the campaigns for toilet technology, wealth from waste, and therefore I think also to move beyond looking at just from the CSR perspective, but also to the business opportunity in sanitation. And that is also a cause that the coalition is espousing in talking about the entire ecosystem for sanitation and how products, technologies and services will actually reinforce what is done around sanitation, and how I think the corporate sector has a very, very important role to play in building that ecosystem for products, technologies and services. And so there's a huge business opportunity beyond the corporate social responsibility of the corporate sector, but business opportunity for various corporates across the entire value chain. So thank you very much for your address. And ladies and gentlemen, while we wait for the Honorable Minister of Railways, Shri Suresh Prabhu, to arrive, we'll move on to the next section. And talking of, the corporate sector's engagement, today ISC is releasing a very important compendium which encapsulates what the corporate sector is doing in sanitation. And I will hand over to my colleague Shipra Saxena, the team leader in the coalition, to read out a few lines about the corporate compendium, and we'll request the dignitaries to release it today. Over to you, Shipra.
Very good morning, and thank you, Rita. As we have been hearing from morning, that corporates have a very important role to play. ISC is as strong as its partners. So through our partners, we have seen that corporates are engaged in the space of sanitation in various capacities, as through their CSRs, as business opportunities, as catalyzers. So the various roles in which they are, through which they are trying to engage. So through ISC, we have tried to capture various initiatives about 45 corporates who are working in the sanitation space, and we encourage our dignitaries on the dais to release this document today. And we'll be very happy if most of you read through the documents, try and further share more, learn from these initiatives which the corporates are doing, as well as keep further sharing most of the initiatives which we are doing, so that we could widely share and disseminate others. So it's very easier for others to see what you are doing and learn from them and scale them up. So the next 2 years are very important. So these learnings and these sharings will be very critical. So I'll request now if we can have the dignitaries can have the copies of the corporate initiatives in the sanitation space, titled as Business and Change, Corporates in the Sanitation Space. This document will be available on the India Sanitation Coalition's website. We request all of you to download, and you'll also receive a copy of it after the conclave. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Iyer has to leave, and we'll pause for a moment and then continue into the next section, which is the award ceremony.
Continue. Okay. This brings us to the much awaited ISC-FICCI Sanitation Award. I'm sure most of you are very excited about this session. The ISC-FICCI Sanitation Awards celebrates the power of multi-stakeholder approach, and it's the first of its kind in the sanitation space in India. These awards rightly recognize the models that are sustainable and which can be replicated and scaled up. The awards recognizes the organizations across various categories. The first category is the best corporate initiative in the sanitation space. The next is the best non-profit engagement model in sanitation, best innovation in sanitation, best financial accessibility model in sanitation, media and sanitation. And then there was a special jury category. We were very pleased at the response which we got on the call, which went live on 15th of January 2017. A robust process was adopted for shortlisting the finalists by the 10-member jury members. We were privileged of having Dr. R.A. Mashalkar, who chaired our jury. Since he could not make it to the conclave today, he has sent us a short and a sweet message for all of us. Let's hear him out. There's some technical issues, so I think we'll wait for the video once the technical issue is sorted out. Some problem. Okay, so we have it.
It has been a special privilege and an honor I've been asked to chair the awards committee, the first awards created by Indian Sanitation Coalition and FICCI. They're really one of a kind. And it all starts with that magical moment when our Prime Minister spoke from Red Fort on our Independence Day about 2.5 years ago, when he gave a clarion call to our nation on Swachh Bharat. And it has worked like magic, because at the end of it, the way the entire movement started, that event, that moment was important, but that moment got converted into a big national movement with what I would like to call as a Jana Andolan. Because the kind of targets that our Prime Minister set for ourselves were extraordinary in terms of trying to achieve results in such a short time to make India open defecation free. That was a great, I would say, leap forward. I would not say even leap forward. It was like pole vaulting into another orbit sort of altogether. And then, of course, the kind of response that we have had from within India has been tremendous. And therefore, first of all, I'd like to congratulate my friend Naina Kidwai for not only setting up this Indian Sanitation Coalition, but thinking on this entire ecosystem build-up, encouraging that ecosystem build-up by creating national awards. These awards, of course, have to go to all the stakeholders, basically. And who are the stakeholders? Of course, the people of India are the first, because it is for them. But at the same time, the corporate world, the NGOs, the financing institutions, the media, all of them are important. So there were 5 categories of awards that were created. We have, of course, tough targets in terms of the number of toilets that we want to build, but at the same time, it's not about building toilets, it's about using toilets, and that requires social behavioral change. And that is where media, for example, mass awakening, social innovation becomes extraordinarily critical. I have been rather closely associated with this movement, so let me say a couple of words about that, and then I will come back to the awards. When Swachh Bharat mission was set up, the Ministry of Rural Development, Sanitation and Drinking Water, they actually created a committee under my chairmanship. It is called the Technology Expert Committee, High Powered Technology Expert Committee. And what we are asked to do is to look at technologies which are upcoming, which are disruptive, which are innovative, and which had 5 characteristics. They were scalable, they were to be affordable, they were to be rapidly deployable, and they were to be socially acceptable. And while that committee's work was going on, and it, by the way, became a standing committee, the Urban Development Ministry also came up, and they also set up a similar committee for looking at the urban areas, because we have the challenge of 100 smart cities, we have the challenge of rapid urbanization, and therefore the kind of solid waste that is going to get generated is going to grow up exponentially, and therefore technologies to deal with this, with the kind of diversity and complexity of India, had to be chosen very carefully so that in a sustainable way we could move forward. So I'm sitting here in a rather privileged position of chairing both the committees dealing with drinking water sanitation on one hand, and the challenge of solid waste management in the urban areas on the other hand. And therefore, this particular committee was particularly important for me. In fact, I can say it was educative for me, because there were more than 100 applications that actually came in, from which we did the selection of awardees in different categories, whether they were corporates, whether they were NGOs, the financing institutions, the media, etc. But while I was doing that, I saw the excellent quality of work that is being done across the country. We actually had a fantastic jury, by the way, and they worked so hard. In fact, can you believe it? There were 3 rounds of screening, and final decisions were taken by the judges who met together. And what did they look at? As a matter of fact, we looked at something that was very simple. It was that we have to do things with speed, with scale, and with sustainability. All 3 are very important. Now, how do you get sustainability? You can get sustainability only when the interventions that have been made last and last forever, basically. And that actually means that the technologies have to be socially acceptable. Secondly, scaling and affordability goes together. Scaling and rapid deployability goes together. In addition, we have to have excellent operational models. So therefore, we had 6 or 7 different indicators, by the way, which we used, and going through them very rigorously, marking each one of them, and then finally making the selection. I must also say the selection was not easy, because the quality of entries that we had were terrific, I would say. And finally, we came out with the final selection. I believe that these awards will spur others on, as a matter of fact, to seek these, because these will become the most prestigious, most unique awards in the country. It will spur a lot of people to move into new spaces. We don't need any more incremental. We require disruptive innovations. We have to not leapfrog, but, as I say, pole vault into sort of a new orbit. And you will see that many of the selections that have been done, they have done innovations of very different kinds: technology innovation, business model innovation, system delivery innovation, workflow innovation, backed up solidly by government's policy innovation. So I want to congratulate all the award winners. I'm quite sure they will be looked at as iconic models by the rest of the country. I'm quite sure that those models will be replicated across the country, because they are proven and they are excellence plus, and that's what we exactly need. And finally, I want to congratulate both the Indian Sanitation Coalition and also FICCI for spearheading this particular effort on making Bharat Swachh Bharat, which is our Prime Minister's dream. Thank you very much. It has been a special privilege and an honor to have chair the awards committee, the first awards created by Indian Sanitation.
Okay. We need to. No. I think it was a very powerful message from Dr. R.V. Mashelkar. I'm sure you must have liked the message which he shared with us. Now we move on to our jury section. We said it takes an experience and eye to identify the best. And our jury, the ISC-FICCI Sanitation Awards jury, the 10-member jury chaired by Dr. R.A. Mashelkar, did a very meticulous job to identify the best models which could be replicated and scaled up. The jury ascertained that the best model gets recognized. These awards, the awards teams and the ISC and the FICCI extends a very heartfelt thanks to each jury member for giving their adequate time, efforts in scrutinizing each and every application. As a token of gratitude, we would now request the dignitaries to felicitate the ISC-FICCI Sanitation jury members. So I'll request jury members to come up on stage and receive their felicitation. So I'll call out the names of the jury members and they can come up. Mr. Arvind Bavle. Okay. He's a brand and communication consultant, and he is also a very important member of ISC steering committee. So please, I would like to hear clappings going on because they've done a very, very meticulous jobs of identifying the best models in the country. Mr. Ashish Jena, who is a sanitation expert and also an ISC steering committee member. Okay. I now request Swamiji to give away the awards to Mr. Ashish Jena. Ms. Madhu Krishnan, who is the lead for the country head of BMGF. I request Swamiji to give away this, felicitate Ms. Madhu Krishnan, who is the lead in the water sanitation program in BMGF and also a very important steering committee member of ISC. Mr. Manoj Agarwal from Ken, India. Mr. Manoj Agarwal from Ken, India. I think he's not able to make it today. Oh. Sorry, is he around? No. Mr. Nitish Kapoor from Reckitt and Benckiser. Mr. Nitish Kapoor. He was. Okay. Ms. Priyanka Dutt, who is the country head of BBC Action Media. I'll request Ms. Sanjeev Mehta to felicitate Ms. Priyanka Dutt. Mr. V.K. Madhavan, who is the country head of WaterAid India. Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, if you can facilitate Mr. V.K. Madhavan, the country head and also a steering committee member of ISC. I request the clapping should go on because they've done a very, very good job. Professor Chari from ASCII, the director ASCII, he was also a jury member but he could not make it today because he's on international travel. Followed by him is Professor V.M. Charya, who is a professor in IIT. Pujat Swamiji will felicitate Professor Vijay Charya from IIT. The clapping should go on, please. Ms. Vedika Bhandarkar from Executive Director, Water.org. They have identified the best models in the country, please. Ms. Vedika Bhandarkar, Ms. Nana Lal Kidwai to felicitate Ms. Vedika Bhandarkar. Thank you, dignitaries. We would like you to be seated. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. The best models which has been identified by the jury members has been captured in a document which is titled as Accolades, which is a photo journey of all the best initiatives, the award-winning stories. So I'll request if this document, the dignitaries could release this document. The document, please. Should we start? No? That's 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. No? The copies of this accolades document is available on the website, as well as there are umpteen number of copies here. So I'll request all of you to read these best models. Should we start? Yeah. Minutes. The what? The what? Yeah. Start the film. But we haven't announced the name. The minister is slightly delayed, so he's almost on his way. So, can we take? We would like to wait for our chief guest, who will be here any moment. So, and we'd like him to give away the awards to the awardees. So, a short break. Short break, but we don't move from our seats because he'll be here any moment. I know the awardees are very excited to receive their awards, but a small break and don't move from your places.
Yeah, this is too good a platform to lose, and we don't want to lose you to a break. So I'm going to ask Swamiji to basically lead off with a few comments as we wait. Actually, we do know Minister is already in his vehicle on his way here.
I was just talking to Naina ji. I think time has come, because I'm sitting in FICCI. The FICCI and faith should work together. Very important. And I have a faith in FICCI. The FICCI can do it. And our faith leaders, I just want to tell you, our Honorable Minister, Shri Suresh Prabhuji is right here, right on time. And always here. Let us welcome him, a man who is a man of action and man of perfection, a man of vision and man of mission, our Honorable Minister for Railways, Suresh Prabhu.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Minister, Sri Suresh Prabhuji, with a round of applause. Okay. So, Honorable Minister will give away the awards first, and as we all know him, he's really been a champion of all things green and a great vision for the railways to espouse the green cause, and sanitation is really one of the biggest causes that the railways is now adopting. So it's an honor for us to have the Honorable Minister of Railways, Mr. Suresh Prabhu, here with us. And now we will move on to the awards ceremony. Shipra will just announce the awardees, and then we will hear the Minister.
Okay, now it's time to give away the awards. So I'll announce category-wise the awardees, and I'll request the dignitaries Sri Suresh Prabhu, Naina Lal, Swamiji, and Mr. Sanjeev Mehta to give away the awards. The first category was Corporate Initiative in Sanitation, and I'll request a representative from Tata Consultancy Services to come up on the stage to receive the awards. So Mr. Debashish Ghosh, who is the TCS Executive Vice President, Mr. Lijo, and Mr. Vibed Arora will be here to receive the awards. Please laugh. In this category, best corporate initiative in the sanitation space, The awards has been also been shared by ACC Limited. So I request Mr. R. Nankumar, VP Corporate Communication, and Mr. Pratyush Panda, Head CSR, to come and receive the awards. Thank you. The next category is non-profit engagement model in the sanitation space. The award goes to Aga Khan Foundation. We request Ms. Tini Sahani, CEO Aga Khan Foundation, Mr. Ashish Merchant, Vice Chairman, and Dr. Asad to come and receive the awards. The next category is innovation, best innovation in the sanitation, and there are two organizations who are sharing the award. The first, I'd like to welcome Swadha, Ms. Garima Sahai and Ms. Jessica Brooks from Swadha to come and receive the awards. The next organization is Consortium for Divorce Dissemination, CDD Society. I request Mr. Shashank, Mr. D'Souza, and Mr. Anuj Malhotra to come and receive the awards. Please keep clapping. You need to hear a louder noise, please. The next category is Best Media in Sanitation. This category also has two organizations which shares the award. The first goes to Down to Earth, Mr. Richard Mahapatra and Mr. Vikrant to come and receive the awards, please. NDTV also shares in this award in the Best Media category, and will request Ms. Priyanka Kaul, CEO, and Ms. Aditi Singh, Special Projects, to come and receive the awards. The next category is Best Financial Accessibility Model in the sanitation space, and the awards goes to Grameen Kota Financial Services Private Limited. I request Mr. Divakar to come up on the stage and receive the award. We have a special jury award. We're giving Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak the Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions in the sanitation space. clapping should go on, please. Dr. Bindeshwar Patil's immense contribution from the sanitation space. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Thank you. I'll request all the jury members and all the award winners to come up on the stage once again for a group photograph, please. I'll request all the award winners and the jury members to come up on the stage for a group photograph, please. Okay. One row can come up on the back if required. The jury can come up on the back. I request the ISC team also to come and join for the group photograph, please.
As all of our awardees, Puja Swamiji, our Honorable Minister, Shri Suresh Prabhuji, are there together, we're going to have a very special water blessing ceremony. This is a special Global Interfaith Wash Alliance ceremony in which we all know, we've heard the statistics today of how many children in India and around the world are suffering and perishing due to lack of clean, safe, sufficient water. So in this water blessing ceremony, we take the water from the sacred Ganga and we offer it to the globe with a prayer that all of our sisters and brothers of every color, every caste, every creed, every race and every religion should have access to life-giving, safe and sufficient water, that no one should have to suffer or die due to lack of water, sanitation and hygiene.
Yeah, he's coming. You can announce the process.
I'll request all of you to be seated, please. The ceremony is still on. And all the awardee stories, you can read it in this book, which is titled as Accolades, which we just released. And a number of copies are available both on the website as well as here on our stall. You can collect your copies from the stall, the ISC stall, which is outside. The next in line is Mr. Suresh Prabhu will be giving away his special speech. So I request all of you to be seated in your place. I request all of you to please be seated in your place. We'll have the minister back shortly. Mr. Suresh Prabhu, Railway Minister, is here. We request him to give him a special message. Yeah.
So good afternoon, friends. It's one of the most laudable and the most important event that could be organized anywhere, but more particularly in FICCI. Because FICCI, as we know, is one of the oldest organizations belonging to trade, industry, commerce. Most of the people, most of the programs that happen here are related to how to liberalize trade policies, how do you promote exports, how do you get more FDI into India, how do you make sure that economic growth is faster. And these are the issues which are normally debated in this place. And they are very important issues, no doubt. But today's event is radically different than those and far more important than those. We have seen that globally, there are several crises globally, so I think we should not worry about many crises because globe is always full of, world has crises all the time. So the problem will come only when there is no crisis. But one of the very severe challenge before the global community is how do you provide sanitation facilities to all the people in the world. And this unfortunately has not been addressed as well as it should have been. And that has resulted into creating so many problems in the world arising out of that. If you have a proper sanitation facility to everybody, public health issues will get addressed. If you have a proper closed toilets wherein people can use those toilets in privacy without anyone looking at you, probably there will be many more problems will be addressed. In several cities of India and also in some other cities of the world, women don't answer the natural calls during the daylight. And one cannot imagine the immense psychological health issues that result from this. We are not even estimated the amount of damage it causes to those human beings. And therefore sanitation is so important. If you address sanitation, so many other issues will get addressed. Even the Human Development Indices will get a big fillip and will jump several points above if we can address this challenge. Not that world has not recognized it. Therefore, one of the Millennium Development Goals also talked about it. But not any worthwhile action really happened at a global scale. Of course, it's true that it's a local issue. Therefore, local action is far more important and necessary. And I'll come to it where the global intervention is really called for. But luckily, in terms of local action in the national boundaries, our Prime Minister has taken this as a big, big priority. He started for the first time Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Then he also started a program wherein toilets should be provided for the women, particularly the female students in the schools and colleges. And now we have a program which is called ODF, Open Defecation Free Villages. And as we go along, there's a champion. There is a competition. The other day, the Prime Minister was presiding over a meeting of all the members of the Executive Committee of Niti Aayog. The Chief Ministers were trying to compete with each other by saying we like to do this more. The Kerala actually wants to be the first, probably the state. Goa would be probably already there. Some northeastern states could also get there soon. But district by district, there is a competition now for getting this open defecation free status. And I think this will be far more important than doing many other things on the ground. So this is Prime Minister's priority, and I'm very happy that we are doing this. I must congratulate all the winners, and fortunately I was looking at the first winner is a TCS, which has excelled in solutions for business. I think you could now think about solution for society. I remember I mentioned it yesterday somewhere that FC Kohli, Fakirchand Kohli, was one of the first CEOs of TCS, was one of the strong champions of bringing in digital literacy. He had talked about a program how we can use IT for helping people to be literate with the shortest possible time with the least cost. I think now TCS must take a lead from this initiative that was for the literacy into this important issue of finding solution to how do you provide sanitation. And of course, it's not surprising that Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak is the recipient of an award. I don't know how many awards he must have received. I think if there is a Guinness Book World of Record of receiving maximum awards, I think he will be the number one in that list. He got even a very prestigious Stockholm Water Prize Award, which is like a water Nobel as we call it. He has received so many. The United Nations celebrates his contribution. New York City has also celebrated what he has been doing. So this is an immense contribution by someone like him, who I would feel is a pioneer in this movement of saying toilets are necessary. So people must have laughed at him. What are you talking about? Toilets are necessary. There are many ways people do their course, why you are worried about it. But he's the one who started talking about it, and he has come out with some very innovative ideas, including if you go to his museum in his office, you'll see someone, even how elephants use toilet. He has put it very interestingly there in Thailand. So this is something very interesting award. So all the awardees, I congratulate them. And I think we really need to progress on that. On the railways, taking leave from Prime Minister's program, we also started a program called Swachh Rail, Swachh Bharat. If Swachh Bharat has to happen, Swachh Rail also has to happen. And the 8,000 stations, toilets, many things that really need to be done. And therefore, we are working on this. And we have now, in the last 1 year, we added as many toilets as we had added since we started this program some years ago. So 1 year. And in the next, by another 2 years' time, we complete all the toilets will be fitted with bio toilets. We also innovated the first one in the world, a vacuum cum bio toilet. As you know, in the airports, aircrafts, you see a vacuum toilet where it sucks the human waste, and then it is, when the plane lands, it is connected to the sewer lines. But unfortunately in India we don't have a sewerage facilities all over. So this is a challenge. But still we have developed a first vacuum cum sewer toilet recently. As well as we started first 2 green corridors, where on those full corridor, whatever number of trains will pass, there will not be any human discharge that will happen on those toilets. So we already started those 2. And we progressively are covering many, so most of the tracks will be covered over a period of time. So sanitation is far more important. But to make it successful, we needed someone like Naina Lal Kidwai to bring this coalition into reality. She has been a most successful banker, and as investment banker she knows that coalition is very important. You can never make a M&A deal, mergers and acquisition deal possible, unless right from lawyers to bankers to everybody is in place at the same time. So coalition is very important. Luckily, because of a Prime Minister, there is no more coalition required at center. But we have a coalition working for this is a very important thing, to bring in all the stakeholders possible. And that is why industry, social activists, local governments, state governments, technologists. This is also very key component. Financiers, bankers, they are all have to come together. So I am very happy that she is doing this and spearheading this as a campaign. I was telling her that the railways, we have made a policy and we changed the policy, and first time it is in place that people, NGOs and others can actually put toilets, adopt toilets, maintain them, and they can do that. So I think I really appeal to all my friends here from the industry and others. You can also take part in this possible solution to the great problem, and we will need to work on it. But I think one of the important key element is education. Because the toilets, people complain about public toilets anywhere getting dirty. But public toilet in the beginning of the day are not as dirty. So what happens to the toilet during the day? So those who complain, somebody else has used the toilet and not used it correctly. And that's why there is a problem. So therefore creating an awareness about use of public toilet is very important. And so I think in coalition, luckily all the stakeholders including NDTV is there. So I think media will play a key role into creating this big awareness about what needs to be done and how we should put that into place in a proper manner. I was talking about global, why global communities are required, global action is necessary, is in terms of technology. When Swamiji and his disciples were telling us to put water on Mother Earth, I was just thinking, if we have to really, the entire earth, we have to pour water and try to offer up prayers, how much water will be required? So it is all right, it was a symbolic, so 2 small portions of water was enough. But if you have to do it all over, how much water will be required? And do we have that water? And therefore, globally, even the World Bank program is called WSP, World Sanitation Program, the Water Sanitation Program. So sanitation and water go hand in hand. Without water, sanitation becomes difficult. But knowing the challenge that we are going to face, so this is 2.5 billion people not having access to sanitation, there are as many people soon will have no access to clean water. So how do you do this? Therefore, the global community must think about bringing solution of toilets which are waterless toilets. This is a technology issue. We need to find out how can we use toilet, not only public toilets, but even household toilets. How can we use it without water? And that's a technological challenge. And in fact, in the railways, I had set aside 50 crores of rupees for innovation challenge. I mentioned in my budget speech and we already opened it. One of the challenges I always keep telling, then we are tied up with most of the IITs in India. We did them last few months, we are already tied up with them, signed agreement, given them centers of excellence for each of the IIT doing something specific. So there also I am requesting all the scientific minds come out with solution about waterless and of course odorless toilet, because otherwise it should not create the type of stink it would come. So how do you, and this is all possible if you apply collective technological ideas globally. And that's why the global action will be something which will be necessary. So this is an important issue. I am very happy that I am here to felicitate some of these great champions. I don't know how to thank Naina Lal Kidwai for doing something which she's been doing with her husband Rashid, and they are doing a wonderful job for such a long time. And she has decided to take it as one important mission of her life, that she wants to work on this. I'm very happy that she could bring in so many different people together. I think this is very important. Build, use, maintain and treat, both, all put together. In fact, this is another issue. Most of the, which I mentioned earlier, but most of the cities, the sewerage doesn't get treated. And wherever we have created treatment plant, they don't operate to their optimum capacity. And because they are not maintained, they work as much sub-optimum. So investment also has gone waste. And therefore, this is another very important issue, is not just toilets, the waste, how do you finally treat it? So this is something very important, something the front-ended solutions of toilet is the back-ended part of it will be far more important as well. So I think this is a huge challenge. I'm happy that you have started working on it, and I'm sure wherever Naina works on it, puts her heart and mind in it, it will succeed. So I'm very confident about it. Wishing you all my best. And Swamiji, of course, is there to bless. And Swamiji has blessed so many good causes, and again those causes have become successful. So now he has given us sapling. So I don't know whether this sapling can grow into a big tree in this hall, but I'm sure the sapling is a symbolic of a thought. So I think this sapling is like a thought which is planted today in the minds of people that we have to work together as a coalition. I think this thought, if not a tree, will grow into massive organization eventually and try to fulfill its mission of getting everybody an access to toilets, but also more importantly, treating it in a manner that will not cause any other collateral damage to the system, to the human life and others. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sri Suresh Prabhuji. That was a very inspiring talk. Now I'll request Dr. Bindeshwar Pathak to come and speak a few lines.
Look so happy. Okay, no problem.
I am thankful and grateful to this India Sanitation Coalition and FICCI for conferring upon me this Lifetime Achievement Award. And we have named it Lifetime Achievement Award, and really I have spent nearly 50 years of my life to solve the problems of sanitation. The problem only became that I did not take money from anywhere, and whatever I earned out of that, I disseminated the knowledge. In the year 1968, I came on the scene when I joined Vihar Gandhi Centenary Committee. The problem was no house had a toilet in rural areas, no school had a toilet, children needed to die because of diarrhea and dehydration. My own sister's son died because of diarrhea while being taken to hospital. More than 90% houses had bucket toilets cleaned by untouchables, and seldom public toilet, that too not well maintained. So my contribution is what Mr. Secretary was talking about, the toilet technology. I invented the 2-pit 4-flush ecological toilet. Had not I invented technology, even today there is no chance of ending the manual cleaning of night soil or defecation in the open. I did not patented it because my mother said, whatever you do in life, pass on to others. And if you count to my, so this technology, as said earlier, the bacteria in the soil converts to etc. We have ourselves implemented 1.5 million toilets. And not a single toilet is not used. The same country, two stories are going on. One, that we have built toilets, about 1.5 million in households and 8,500 public places. And all are being used. Not a single story of not being used. On the other hand, you have a story, the toilets are not being used. Why? Only because you have no arrangements of motivation, education, implementation, maintenance and follow-up. Suppose if you build a toilet, who builds the toilet? And do you ask him to take care of 2 years minimum? Why it will go wrong? But the question is that we have to take care of how we have to design like this. So I would request this August gathering to decide why it is happening, why it is not happening. So I always pass on to this information. I initiated the maintenance of public toilets in 1974 in Bihar. Now throughout the country, the idea has been accepted. Not only this country, Afghanistan, Africa, and other countries also. The technology has been adopted by China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, so on and so forth. We have implemented the technology. This is two-pit. I invented when? In 1968, not today. But the wisdom of the government of India, that they decided to implement one-pit technology in 1986. And in 2008, they changed over to two-pit latrine. Even today, somewhere, one pit is being used, which is not correct. And then this is the human skater. I smell for you. You can also smell. This is human skater in my hand. And the technology is already there. So, if you use this technology, so what is required? You have to give this information to the persons who are implementing this technology. This is very important. This is water from public toilet. You talk about pollution. You ask from the Britain, America, England, Australia. And this is all in India we have in my hand. Water from public toilet. It contains 10 BOD. It is so safe. You can use it as a fertilizer. If you discharge in river bodies, Ganga and Jamuna, no pollution. Everything is here. Only you have to see that how you can use this one. The water in arsenic area in West Bengal, the water in the government of West Bengal was trying to find out the solution of the problems of arsenic water. And we have done it from ponds and the wells. And the water is sold at 50 paise per liter. People are being cured. The question is that we have technologies. We have solved the problems. And so, what is required? You are talking about skill development. Right now I tell you, 1 million boys and girls can be trained and can they work and they be self-reliant. It is very important to know that NGOs should, if they take a donation charity, but they should try to stand their own legs. We have not taken a single farthing from anywhere, from India and abroad. No donation, no charity. So, if you want to run the NGO, you can run an NGO like this. I have to go to Lok Sabha, so I have to be this live at 1 o'clock. So I will come again to speak with you. These words of thank you again and for this award you have given to me. Thank you to Nana for choosing me here, to asking me to bring here. Ask me to come again. I will share my experiences with you. And everything is with us, just to take it. And all technologies invented by me are free from patents. Anyone can pass on to others. And I have to know how it can go on. This is required. So corporate sectors are doing very well now. They are helping to. We are working with 82 corporate sectors. And they are working very well. Hema Malini said, oh, toilets are not functioning. I said, madam, I can build toilets for you, 50 only, from my own pocket. Rest you can. Oh, rest, you can take this book from you. So rest you can do from the corporate sector. And just see, all toilets are functioning very well. Why not toilets will function? What for? Nothing happens without a cause. That you have to see. 12,000 rupees is not adequate enough to build a good toilet. So with 12,000 rupees, either you give subsidy or give loan, and people will get a good quality construction toilet. In 12,000 rupees, if you want to continue, it will not work. The toilet built in 12,000 rupees will not be functional. So people are not using. Why not are you using? So that you have to consider. This August body, for 2 days you are deliberating. You have to consider this, that in this amount, can you build a toilet? This is story going on. So you can take this book of Amalni, you can see this. So that's it. I just conclude now. Just see the public toilet we have built. This is in Pandharpur, Maharashtra. 2,858 seats. Half all completed. Biggest in the world. China has 1,000 seats. And we have these 2,858 seats. 4 lakh people will use daily. So if you ask not to defecate in the open, where they will go? So we'll have to have provisions like this. So, but if you want to construct, it should be good quality construction, well maintained, only then it can go on. And we are planning, we are already doing, not planning, we are going to train 600,000, 6 lakhs, 41,000 people in this country, and they will be the carrier. And they will go alone, they will work, and they will put the whole life. Missionaries, the government staffs, government people, they go away after 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. The politicians, they go away 5 years. But missionaries like Chidananji, missionaries will continue. So missionaries are in the form of religious people, NGOs, civil society. So they can continue for whole life. I have committed a whole life, not for 5 years or 10 years. So that is required in the sanitation sector also. And you have to love your toilets just like your sons and daughters. Not this is toilet for others, but for you have to like this. So this is very important. I just want to conclude. There are many things to see. I have no time, I think so. So once again, I thank you everybody. Please take I have CD and books are here. You can take. I can read on because I have to just 1 o'clock live from Lok Sabha. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Shri Pathak. Ladies and gentlemen, we come to a close of this very important inaugural session and the awards function, and on behalf of FICCI, wearing 2 hats of the coalition as well as FICCI, it is my proud privilege to thank all the dignitaries on the dais. Pujya Swamiji, it was really an honor to hear you. Mr. Mehta, we are very delighted to have your presence to give the confidence of the corporate sector in this very important cause. And we heard 2 very important personalities from the government, the Secretary, Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation, and the Minister of Railways, 2 different ministries giving their views and their vision. So it's really been a mix of thoughts and a confluence of thoughts from the business world, from the government, from the faith leaders, and everyone here, representing everyone here. So thank you all, and as I mentioned earlier, that FICCI is very proud to be of this part of this very important initiative which the coalition is leading, and we do believe that the role of corporate sector goes beyond CSR to the business of sanitation as well. And therefore, I think the 2 days here will dwell on all these aspects, and we have a very interesting 2 days of panel discussions lined up. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll now move over to the lunch.
I just want to state that President FICCI, Pankaj Bhai Patel, has been held up at another event. I think there have been a lot of delayed flights this morning, but he is on his way now. But deeply respects our desire to have lunch and stay on track. So we have chosen to move ahead, but he will hopefully join us a little bit later. But he's actually on his way, 10 minutes away. But we have chosen to close this session. We will be running a video, which I will leave to Shipra to just take you through, which I hope some of you will stay back to watch and see. But we will see you back here at 2:15 for the panel discussion of the afternoon.
Thank you. The film 3 minutes videos of each of the awardees will be running here during the lunch session. So I'll request as many of you to spare your time and watch this movie. Apart from during the lunchtime, this film will also run in the plasma screens outside in the lounge and the banquet hall. So please spare your time and watch these movies. These movies will also be uploaded on the ISC website for wider dissemination. Thank you.
Madurai is a small town on the outskirts of Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, with a population of 42,500. This town comes under the special grade panchayat's population grew. Poor sanitation, disease, filth and odor from waste dumps became a cause for concern. The town generates 4.5 tons of waste per day.
Challenges we faced in implementing this project is the mindset of the people. So for them, the house needs to be clean, but they were not worried about the streets and the entire city. So we need to create a system where the waste is being collected every day and being safely disposed.
A resource recovery center was set up from this money. The collected wet waste is accumulated at the resource center, after which it is composted, either by vermicomposting, segregation of the recyclables in 8 categories. Plastic above 40 microns, plastic below 40 microns, oil, milk covers, newspaper and paper items, electronic waste items, cardboard, rubber and leather items, and lastly, glass bottles.
So if you see, the co-processing facility was set up with an idea of processing all the hazardous waste, which includes what is called as RDF, that is reuse derived fuel, which mainly consists of this plastic that is coming from the corporations.
Various schools and colleges are part of this initiative. The students also take up active campaigning for the program.
Today I learned about different types of waste and its segregation. Also how one can effectively recycle the waste. From here on I'll segregate waste at home and tell all my friends and neighbors to do the same so that we can keep the city clean and green.
If every village, every town across India follows the waste segregation at the source, organic and inorganic, your city becomes clean. And if this been achieved in every house, so segregation, there will be no landfills across any towns, across any city, any panchayat at all.
In 2014, the Indian government launched Swachh Bharat Abhiyan to address India's sanitation and cleanliness challenges. To support the government's efforts, the Aga Khan Development Network of Agencies launched its comprehensive sanitation initiative in urban and rural areas. The Aga Khan Foundation, in partnership with the Aga Khan Rural Support Program, expanded its ongoing sanitation initiative to include an integrated block-level approach. This is being piloted in Pusa block in Samastipur district, Bihar. Rallies and interpersonal communication, community-level meetings, engagement with natural leaders, and participatory exercises have resulted in communities coming together to achieve open defecation-free status in their respective wards and panchayats. For real-time tracking, Aga Khan Development Network has also introduced a mobile monitoring tool, Akbo Flow, which allows the teams to capture important information such as geolocation, photographs, and behavioral practices. Once this data is uploaded, it appears in the dashboard, and that helps the teams to monitor the quality of construction, physical progress, and usage pattern. The dedicated workforce on the ground is also assisting with hygiene promotion efforts, both at the household, school, and community level. With the introduction of a hygiene education program in schools, the Aga Khan Development Network is ensuring that the hygiene behaviors are sustained amongst children and their families. One of the key highlights of this initiative is to integrate drinking water access within the sanitation program through the promotion of habitation-level mini drinking water schemes. Gaurav Yatras, Pride Walks, are organized to recognize the community's efforts as well as felicitate local champions. The Yatra is an occasion of great pride and celebration and marks the accomplishment of open defecation-free status in the villages.
The good initiative in Bihar has successfully demonstrated an effective partnership with government to achieve ODF status. So far under this initiative, we could manage to achieve 60% of total sanitation coverage, and we are quite confident that by the end of June we are going to achieve a complete ODF status for the block. The ISC-FICCI Sanitation Award is a huge recognition for us. It is not only going to bring us a better visibility within sanitation space, but will also bring in a lot of motivation for our team working on the ground to achieve SPM objectives.